Hi, welcome to my channel IntMain. In this video, I'll be going through installing CLion on Windows 10 with a MinGW build environment and setting up Sfml graphics library. All right, so let's get started. First thing we're going to need to do is download a couple of things. So I'm going to go ahead and go through all the downloads, and then I'll do some of the installs. And I'll get them started, and then I'll pause while they're installing. First site to go out to is jetbrains.com. This is where we would get CLion. I'm going to come into Developer Tools and find CLion. And I'm going to do a download, and then I'll download the Windows exe. And it should start down here. We see it down here in this browser in the bottom left corner. It's downloading. It shouldn't take too long for that to download. You'll need to sign up for an account with CLion. If you have a education account through a college email address, you can sign up for a free education license, and then you'd be able to use that to log into CLion. Right, so that's almost done. The next site is Sfml. This is our graphics library that we're going to be using for doing some 2D graphics. I'm going to go over to the downloads, and I'm going to go to the latest stable versions. And then in here, we have to be very careful with Windows. They have different versions. CLion is a make system. It's going to use one of the MinGW 32 versions. So we have a choice, and it's telling us in here to make sure that our compiler matches the build environment. So since we're going to be doing just some small stuff, we'll just do a 32-bit system. So this is the download for the Sfml. So if I click on that, that will get the Sfml downloading, and that's in a zip file for Windows. And then I want to pick the MinGW builds 32-bit because I downloaded the 32-bit Sfml. If I was to have downloaded the 64-bit, I would need to pick the 64-bit. It will not work if you cross these. So anyway, I downloaded the 32-bit of the Sfml library, so I want to download the 32-bit MinGW. And that'll take me over to SourceForge, and if I just sit here, it will eventually start to download on its own after it shows me some ads. And there we go, now it's downloading. Now this is a 7-zip file, and if I show in my Windows Explorer in my Downloads folder, now I have also turned on file name extensions to the View menu so I can see their extensions. Notice this has a .7z or 7-zip. So Windows doesn't know how to deal with that by itself like it does a zip file, so we need to download 7-zip. So I just go out to 7-zip.org, and I'm going to download the 64-bit of this. This has nothing to do with my C++ build environment, but I know this 7-zip 64-bit integrates into Windows Explorer a lot better. So I can right-click and expand a file. So once again, it comes out to SourceForge, and there it goes. It starts to download. Want to make sure you had time to see their ads. Okay, so now everything is downloaded. I'm going to come back here, and it really doesn't matter what order I do some of the things, but the very first thing I'm going to do is install 7-zip so that I can unpackage this MinGW build environment, and that also I can use it to unpack the Sfml library. So I'm going to double click that executable for 7-zip, and that's fine where it's going to install it. And close. Right now, should have added 7-zip here into my right-click menu. So I right-click on a file, I can go to 7-zip, and I can say extract here. And it's just like a zip file. That's all it is. Shouldn't take too long for that to come out. Okay, so we got that expanded. It took a little bit longer than I thought, but we can see the new folder here. And this is our C++ and C compiler, assembler, preprocessor, linker. All of that is in here with all of the standard template libraries and all of that. So we'll need that. And what we can do is we can go ahead. I'm just going to put this, and to make it easier to see, I'll open another Explorer window, and I'll just make this my C drive. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this, right-clicking and dragging, and I'm going to say move it to my C drive. And that'll take a couple of minutes to copy, so I'll be right back. Okay, so it moved that over. I still have the compressed file here, but it moved the uncompressed. So now I can unzip the, that was the MinGW. I can unzip the Sfml. So I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to do right-click, 7-zip, and do extract here. This one will go a lot faster. It's much smaller. Right, and there it is. If I go into it, I can see here's all the files that we need, like the DLLs or libraries for the DLL should be in the bin folder. Here's all the DLLs, dynamic link libraries. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do is back here in downloads, I've extracted it out of the zip file. I'm going to rename it to just Sfml. Just to keep things easy. And then same thing, I'm going to right click and drag it over here to my C drive and say move here. All right, and that's it. All right, so now all I need to do now is install CLine. So I'm going to double click that. Hopefully that's going to come up quick. After it verifies the setup. And yes, I want this app to make changes. All right, so welcome to CLine setup. Let's go in. This is fine where it's installing it. And you can check all of these if you want. 64-bit launcher, add launcher to the, you can just check all these if you want. Unless you're running a different build environment as well and you're adding this one, you may not want to check all these. If it's the only build environment, you may want to check them. That's fine. Start menu folder, and there we go. We're off to the install. Okay, CLine is installed for us. Completing CLine, it says that we must reboot our computer. I don't remember that, but let's go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and start a reboot. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so I'm back in. Let's go ahead and try to launch CLine. I'm just going to start typing it here in the search box. There it is. All right, so confirm the user agreement. Don't need to share any data. All right. You need to, you can evaluate it for free for 30 days. Eventually, you would have to sign up for an account. You can get a free education account with a .edu or a school email address. So I've already registered, so I'm just going to put in my information. And go ahead and activate my copy. Continue. All right, well, that's coming up. We are going to be kind of following along with another tutorial. Let's see. One that I did for setting it up on the Macintosh. We're just going to use the same source code. Okay, so CLion has come up. Now, before we start any projects, we need to tell CLion where to find those build environment programs. So we're going to go into Customize. We need to know where its C compiler is. So I'm going to go Customize and then All Settings. And then we'll come down to Build, Execution, Deployment and click on Tool Chains. And it's actually going to look for it. And it's already found the min GW32. And so it should register all of the make and the C compiler and the C++ compiler. And we'll be looking at makes. Okay, so it's loaded them all now. So we can say okay here. And then go back to projects. And then now we can start a new project. Now the project that we're going to be building has the name Hello Sfml. So we want to keep that name the same. It doesn't matter where we put it, but we want to keep that name the same. So same capitalization, everything. So I'm going to start a new project. And I am going to put this in my documents directory on Windows. And then I'm going to get rid of the CLion part of this and just call it projects. And then Hello Sfml. Right, keep the capitalization the same. But the reason I put it in documents is it's easier to find the documents folder in my file explorer. All right, so I'm going to say create. All right, I'm not worried about this wizard. Okay, yes, I don't want to do any team coding right now. All right, so here's our IDE up. We have a project over here. This is our workspace. We have our project. We have our make text file. We'll talk about that in a second. And our source code, main.cpp. And of course, we'd have external libraries, which right now should be all the standard template libraries. So that's what all these are here. These are all the standard libraries. All right, so what we want to do is we need to modify this make file so that it can see the Sfml libraries. Now this make file, the make file is like a script for the compilers. The build process. It tells the compiler and the assembler and the linker what to do. So we just have a couple of things that we need to add to this so that it can see our Sfml libraries. Now I'm not going to go too much into explaining this since it's really kind of beyond the scope of this tutorial. We just want to get this thing up and running so we know that we have a good installation. Then we'll have future tutorials on using Sfml. All right, so the very first thing is We have dynamic link libraries, those DLLs that are part of SFML, and we want to link them statically. So we need to do SFML static libraries. We want to set that to true. And this is a scripting language. This is not C, C++. So that'll tell it to copy, that'll tell it to copy the DLL content into our program instead of trying to link to those DLLs at runtime. Otherwise, we'd have to copy those DLLs into our project every time. And this way, we're just copying the actual binary object code right into our executable. Then we need to tell it where to find our SFML. So we're going to create our own variable called, and actually it's a variable that it would look for, but that's its name, SFML underscore dir for directory. And if we look out here, we put SFML library, we put it in the C drive at the root under SFML. So that's all we need to put. But what we really need, we need it to find in this lib folder where libraries are inside of CMake, inside that SFML, we need it to find these make files. These are additional make files that will help it build our program. So that's what we want it to find here. So we're going to do, and what we can do to make this a shortcut is if we drill into here, we can actually copy this path. And then we can paste it here. Only we have to do one thing. We have to change these backslashes to forward slashes like Linux. And then it'll be happy. Right? And then now we want to tell it what of the SFML components we want. And if we look out here, such as in include, we can see the different modules that are in this audio graphics network system and window. And we want all of those. And so what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to go ahead and find package. Notice it recognizes these are make functions. And from the SFML package, we want the following components. Components. And now we just list which ones we want. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to list all of them. So we want to get the, and we're going to do them in kind of the order that they are, although it's not required, the order that they depend on each other, but it's not really required. But we're going to go system window graphics. And notice there's just a space, no audio and network. And we're going to say these are required. Right. Right now we're going to tell it to include directories, and we want it to include, and it's really just C:// SFML / include. And if we look back out here in SFML, we have C:/SFML, we have include. And so this is where it'll find all the header files. We don't need to specify the SFML, just to the include. It'll search all those folders. All right. And now we want to, we need to target the actual libraries, the DLL libraries. So we're going to say for the linker, we want to target link libraries. And for our project name, which is Hello SFML, actually be the executable program that we get. We called it that up here. And so for that target, we want the name of the libraries. If we look in the lib folder, they have a bunch of different versions of them. Well, we're going to do the ones without them, but notice they're like lib sfml-network. So you just take off the lib portion. The compiler expects that. And so we just have to do like sfml-network. So that's what we're going to list here. So we're going to do them in the same order we saw up here. So we're going to do sfml-system. And it doesn't, the order doesn't matter. It could, but this system is set up to handle the order. Graphics, SFML, audio. Right? Okay, now we have all of this code in here. Notice it's telling us, do you want to reload changes? We'll say yes. It'll check our syntax right now. And if we notice, we got a new folder showed up here. That's limits. Let's see if we can see it in here. Oh, there it is. It loaded as the first one. So here's our SFML third-party library. So this showed up because we told it where to find it. All right, so now we're going to go back. This is the make file. Now we're going to go to the main. And what we're going to do is this web page, which I'll have the link to. We can't use its make file directly, but you'll notice it's very, very similar. They just do a couple things differently because paths are different on the app on the Mac. But we can use this exact same program. So everything here we can copy. And in our main.cpp, we can select all this, and then we can paste over it. All right. We don't see it flagging anything in error. It's analyzing it. Okay, it seems to be okay. We have one warning, which we don't need to worry about. But let's go ahead and do a build. All right, and build finished. Everything's green. That's good. No red. Nothing says there was an error. Let's go ahead and run. All right, we see our SFML application window is now open and has a blue circle, cayenne colored circle. And if we look at our code, we can see that's what the code shows, that it was going to open a window and create a circle of color cayenne. So we know our SFML applications are working with CLion on Windows. So that'll finish this tutorial.